Hi, welcome again to Do You Know? One of the famous people that I learned to like and love was Langalibalele. And Langalibalele is one of the warriors. And his statue is in front of the cut in the Castle of Good Hope in Cape Town. And I've got Sonwabile with me again today to talk about Langalibalele and why he was a warrior and what he achieved. So, Sonwabile Maxebengula, thank you very much for being here again. Let's talk about Langalibalele.
Thank you, Mrs. Duplessis, for having me, and also hello to the viewers. We must actually just look back where the Hlubi people originated from. The Hlubi people were people that were actually located in what is now called Congo. And they were people that referred to themselves as Amalala, and they spoke a language called Istekenya. So, people would, back in those days, they would actually migrate. Maybe there was a drought or some of geographic occurrence, so they were forced to move. So they later forced and they moved southeast, and they later were located in an area which is now called KwaZulu-Natal. So by that time, those were the times of the Mvetanes, and at some point they were then pushed further down to some southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. So Langalibalele was then, and that was by the time of Tim Kulu. And so Langalibalele was actually born around 1814, which was when we saw the European migrants moving further inland in what is now called South Africa. So he was actually born on that, and then there was also some fighting in KwaZulu Natal with Mbande and Dingaan. So they were actually just caught in between. So we see now in the 1830s, we see the Voortrekkers living, which was the first batch, living at the Cape Colony. And by that time, they were pushing on the East Coast, which later resulted to the start of the frontier wars of 1779 of the Eastern Cape. So this actually placed them on a compromised because they were caught in between, and it was such a very, very small clan at that time. And then what had happened is this: when the British and the Xhosas were actually were engaging during the frontier wars, the likes of Maqoma, who actually used intelligence in terms of taking or dispossessing the British resources in terms of the livestock or the cattle that they've collected on the way, or they had actually stolen when they defeated some small clans of the Khoi before they crossed the Fish River. So he was caught in between. Then came the discovery of diamonds rather. So Langalibalele then forced or persuaded rather, I don't want to say forced, persuaded the warriors of Amahlubi to actually to go and work in those mines. And most of them were paid by guns, and the British later noticed that. And then the Hlubi people were regarded as rainmakers by the closest speaking people, because when their first interaction, when they came down and met with the closest speaking people, they were actually lots of rain. There was actually a lots of rain, and you see now when the Khatebes it's a clan name Umtimkulu, they would say Ozane Mvola. It means the rainmakers. So they also that respect. So then the British were actually then tried to actually to threaten Langalibalele that he had lots of guns, and then he must actually act in their favor when it comes to claiming or protecting the livestock of the British from the Xhosas. So then he later actually saw that the British, because when he was a refugee and when he was pushed down, and then he was welcomed by the Xhosa speaking people. So he then fled, and after a warrant of arrest was issued, and then he went to hide in what is now called a Lesotho, of which in history book you'd see they would refer to it as Basotho land. And then he was then arrested, and then he was detained briefly here at the castle. And you would learn that Doman is the only warrior that was not detained within the walls of the castle.
Oh,
But the
interesting.
reason he was actually here is because he actually led the first known, or rather the second colonial resistance in South Africa. So, and then after that, he was then arrested, and then he was brought here at the castle, and he was imprisoned here at the castle briefly, and then he was then sent to Robben Island, where he spent some time there, and then he was released from Robben Island, and he was imprisoned in a farm which is located in a place or suburb which is called Pinelands today, and the name of the farm was Eitvlacht, of which he spent 10 years there. And then by that time, his people followed him, and they settled in an area which later became the oldest formal township in South Africa, which is a township called Langa. And this is why people refer to that township as KwaLanga, meaning the place of Langa, because Ilanga is the sun, and people would think that because we also have a place called Nyanga, which is moon. They think that it's because it's the sun. No, it is actually named after a person, and he died around 1889.
So, in other words, Langa was officially Langalibalele's location or something. That is what I heard. So, today we refer to it as KwaLanga, the place where Langa lived.
Yes. It's basically the place of Langa, because that is where his followers actually camped, or actually when they came and followed him. So it's Langa, and you know the proximity. Langa is actually it's about 2 kilometers or 1.5 kilometers from Pinelands. So it's just linked. But you know, because of apartheid, then Pinelands was declared a white only area, and some of those people were then chased from what was then Ndabeni, or still today called Ndabeni. They were then forced, and then they were actually sent to Langa. And people tend to think that Ndabeni was the oldest, but people, Langa was formal. The street formation, the hostels, and the only Dombas court was located in Langa. So it was formal, so that there would be visibility, the security forces would be able to track the movements of the people and also to control them. So this is why Langa is the first or the oldest formal township in South Africa, which was established in 1927.
And it's quite heartening to see that the main road now is called King Langalibalele Road, which was formerly something like Washington Street or something like that. So it was good to see that that street name has changed.
Yes, and now the main road of Langa is basically named because it used to be a Washington a road or street, but now it is actually named King Langalibalele. And we also have lots of Hlubi people living in the township, and also some of the Hlubi chiefs that actually are still there in Langa. So it's actually it's a very vibrant township, and it's unique. And you go there, You go to the special units, you'd actually see the hostels that were actually built for the migrant labor. And people don't know that when it started, a Langa comprised of the so-called colored people that were later moved to Bonteville and others to places such as Athlone. But we see that now people are just coming back. The so-called colored people are coming back to actually to live in Langa.
Oh, that's
And,
interesting. So Sonwabile, thank you so much. And this was all about the Amahlubi chief, or Amahlubi king.
King, yes, ma'am,
King.
yes,
I was going to say, he was a king. Langalibale. So thank you very much for this episode of Do You Know? And we're looking forward to the next one, which will be on the third warrior, that is, whose statue is at the Castle of Good Hope. Thank you, Sonwabile. See you again.
You're welcome. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.